Please remain standing as I call upon Jim Raya from the Casey Multi-Faith Network to read the faith statement.
The Casey Multi-Faith Network exists to promote peace, harmony and understanding, and to do so in partnership with Casey Council and the wider Casey community. We aim to spread knowledge and clarity about what different religions and worldviews believe, teach and practice. We believe that all members of religions and faiths have the right to peacefully practice and celebrate their own religion in a shared attitude of friendly coexistence and cooperation with all other peoples. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please be seated. The City of Casey acknowledges that we're on the traditional land of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people and pays respects to all elders, past, present and future. Is there a mover and a seconder to accept apologies from the following councillors? Councillor Susan Saray, Councillor Tim Jackson, Councillor Jeff Ablett, Councillor Miller Gillich and Councillor Gary Rowe. Moved by Councillor Cristani, seconded by Councillor Flannery. Is there any dissent? There being no dissent, that is carried. We've got a number of items in our suspension of local law tonight, and we'd like to welcome those people here in the gallery. And I would first like to ask for a mover and a seconder to move into a suspension of local law. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Cristani. Is there any dissent? There being no dissent, we move into suspension of local law, and I now determine that local law is applied, and I ask for Councillor Aziz.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, it is my absolute pleasure tonight to welcome to the gallery Mrs. Samantha Jansen. Samantha is the founder of Platform for Success and Samantha Jansen Publishing. She's an international speaker, publisher, author and business owner, and she operates right from here in the city of Casey.
Lovely local.
Samantha Jansen is on a mission to help individuals, business owners and organisations build an influential profile and highly profitable businesses by making an impact in their area of expertise. Her core pillars for presentations and inspiring talks are leadership, communication, teamwork and influence with impact. As a self-confessed lover of social media, she helps business owners understand the power of social media in today's marketing world, alongside business scalability and personal branding through self-publishing and writing your own book. She has co-authored 8 anthologies, which include Reboot Your Life, alongside Dr. John DiMartini, and she's also written her own book, No Qualifications, No Excuses, How to Build a Business Even When the Odds Are Against You. And she also co-authored The Influential Author. Self-publishing and social media marketing is one of the most powerful ways to fast-track your business and build an influential profile, says Samantha. From the 9-to-5 grid in the corporate world to starting a consulting business, after 6 months of intensive market research in Melbourne, Samantha has taken the time to understand the gap in the marketplace for small business owners. She brings a hands-on experience with support through her handheld strategy consulting from start to finish, ensuring that her clients understand the principles and the execution process is seamless. Sam has worked with Australian real estate agents, financial planners, boutique law firms, accountants, salons and hairdressers, gyms and personal trainers, and also businesses in the coaching and consulting area, along with clients in America, London, and New Zealand. She has interviewed globally and presented interactive workshops in the United States, in New Zealand, and indeed across Australia. Sam asked you to connect with her on social media, and Madam Mayor, it is my great pleasure to welcome to the microphone Mrs. Samantha Jansen.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm very grateful and honoured to be invited to this, so thank you. I'm here because I had the privilege of having Councillor Sam Aziz publish in our recent book, He Leads, which launched about 4 weeks ago here in Melbourne, which is a fantastic opportunity to have someone from a local council. I am a resident of the city of Casey and have been for the last 15 years, so it's absolutely amazing to have Councillor Sam Aziz in the book. In terms a little bit about the book, He Leads is a book consisting of 6 influential leaders on a mission to share their purpose and why they think leadership has played a big part in their personal journey but also in their career. And Councillor Sam Aziz actually talks quite a bit about from his journey when he arrived here in Australia as a young boy, I should say, and then into his career, as well as some of the key learnings that he saw throughout his career when he first stepped into a very challenging time on that night, as we were discussing over dinner when he was 25 years old. He talks about that, the skills you learned as a leader, but also in terms of, I think to our readers that have been a part of He Leads and the people that attended the book launch, they got to hear a little bit about Bunjil Place, because we did bring to life quite a bit of your leadership skills as well as the purpose behind Bunjil Place and so many other amazing things that the city of Casey has actually formed for local people here. And you also shared giving families the opportunity to actually work in the city of Casey, which is actually something very personal to me, I should say, as a mum with 2 young kids in primary school. And I know a lot of people have been struggling making that commute to the city. So Councillor Sam Aziz was very detailed and insightful on his mission, but also the City of Casey's mission in this book. And it is an absolute pleasure to be able to publish the story. And we have currently sold over 400 physical copies of this book across Australia since launching in 4 weeks. So we're on a mission to reach 1,000 over the next quarter. But it is an absolute privilege to be able to share this. And Councillor Sam Aziz would love to present you with the book. So yeah, he'll sign it and present it to you. So thank you so much again on behalf of Samantha Jansen Publishing. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, we'll get a copy across to you. So thank you.
Thank you, Samantha, and congratulations. Councillor Aziz is just going to say a few final words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one aspect I wanted to pick up from the book, because I talked extensively about Bunjil Place, and I talked about this aspect of leadership that I hear so many futurists talk about, and that is that for individuals as well as for organisations, there is always going to be the probable future, which is the future that you have if you do absolutely nothing about your life. There's the possible future, which is the future that you have if you actually try and improve your life incrementally. And then the last one is actually the preposterous future, which is the kind of future we're actually enjoying here in the city of Casey. And to give you an example of a preposterous future, Councillor Smith might wake up one day and decide that his next ambition is to become the next Brad Pitt. That's a preposterous future. But for an organisation like the City of Casey, we've actually achieved it with Bunjil Place. Who would have thought that we would have the most amazing facility out of all local governments in Australia, built under time and under budget, and to be completely paid off for within 9 years. And now we're jumping onto the next platform, which is our smart city strategy. That is all. These are all elements of a preposterous future, and that was the kind of leadership that I was talking about, which had a personal implication for me as well, coming to Australia as a migrant at the age of 10, and then having the opportunity of serving both in the national security apparatus of our federal government and then being mayor of our city for 3 times. So that's a preposterous future indeed, but thankfully I was able to accomplish that, and that's what I talk about in the book, and compare that experience to the corporate pathway of the City of Casey. So I just wanted to allude to that because that's what most people that have read the book have actually commented on. Thank you.
Councillor Aziz, thank you so much, and what a story that is to tell. And I think it just gives hope for so many wonderful migrants that live here, people from overseas, that the world's their oyster in Australia. It's absolutely wonderful. There's nothing even stopping them becoming Prime Minister. So I think congratulations on this. I'm looking forward to reading it very much. And to Samantha, I want to say congratulations to you too. And I'm going to be subscribing to your She Leads book because Councillor Castani and I are very keen to read it. So that would be wonderful. Thank you very much. We'd also like to welcome our Sikh community here, Sikh volunteers, but also our Sikh community. And I've got Councillor Rosario who's going to do the introduction.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I rise tonight to welcome our Sikh guests and to also share in the celebration of the Sikh religion founders' birthday. And the Sikh religion founder's name is Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and he was born in 1469 AD. So, Madam Mayor, the reason why this is significant is because the Sikh community are a wonderful group of people and obviously a part of the Casey community, and very much their spirit is about giving back to the community. It's actually one of their basic principles to earn an honest living, to meditate with God, and to share among the poor and needy and give to the less fortunate. So tonight, to celebrate and to share that with our Sikh community, we have 4 representatives from the Sikh Volunteers of Australia. So we have Tejinder, Sukhwinder, Jaswinder and Jagpal, who are here tonight on behalf of the Sikh Volunteers of Australia to give to yourself, Madam Mayor, and to any interested councillors some sweets just to celebrate the birthday of their Sikh religious founder. So with that said, Madam Mayor, I'd like to invite our 4 guests up to present you with a gift, and any interested councillors as well who would like to receive that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rosario. I would like to say how it's almost ironic that you'd be presenting to us when it is us that are so grateful to you for all the great work that you do in our community. You really are such a strong part of our community and volunteer on a regular basis and do so many wonderful things. So it's a great honour to have you here and to receive these wonderful gifts. So we'll meet you up under the screen there and be very glad to receive your gifts. And Councillor Smith would like to say a few words, as well as Councillor Rosario.
I'll take the opportunity on behalf of Councillor Ziz and I to talk about just quickly the Sikh Games next year, because I think that's such a big event. Well, I think it's going to be the biggest event in City of Casey for a long, long time. And I don't know what the latest figures are, but I think it was 60 or 70,000 people expected. It's probably more than that by now. Councillor Ziz and I had the pleasure to go to the Sydney Games earlier this year, and I won't speak on behalf of Councillor Ziz, but I suspect it's like me. I walked in there with a bit of an expectation that it couldn't possibly be as big as what they're telling us, but it exceeded that. It was much bigger. And of course, the Melbourne Sikh organisers, game organisers, are assuring us and quite rightly so, that the Melbourne event will be much bigger and better than Sydney anyway. So I'm personally looking forward to that next Easter, for the influx into Casey and all the benefits it will bring to our community in terms of tourism and business, but also the opportunity to see the games with the Sikh performers, the Sikh players. Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to say thank you for the gift you offered to me. I've just gave it to one of our local residents who always attend council here, so I hope you're not offended by it. So I appreciate it. And I was at the opening of your van when you opened the food van a few years ago, and you do a marvellous job for the community. As I said, I see you always up there every year at Plan for Roots, and a great community service that you provide your vegetarian meals for all the people that come up and plant their trees up in Harkaway, and I really appreciate everything you do for the community, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Councillor Rosario.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, Councillor Flannery covered one of the key aspects, which was the food van. And they give that away for free, the food, vegetarian food, and bottles of water as well. And it was a very good day when we launched that, wasn't it? So wonderful group of people. And Madam Mayor, also Sukhwinder, just if anyone didn't know, Sukhwinder was in a competition with Founding Gate, Westfield there, and she won $10,000 because of the community contributions and the work that she's done, to support other people. So that was a really great acknowledgement of not just yourself, Sukhwinder, but also the group that you work for as well, which is the Sikh Volunteers. So thank you again for the wonderful gifts, and I thank my fellow councillors as well, and thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Rosario, and if I could echo my thanks, and to have you, Sukhwinder, as our local hero, which is what your title was, and is not only a reflection on yourself, but also the wonderful community that you belong to. So on behalf of all of us here at Council, thank you so much for being here tonight. Only one more item to raise in suspension of local laws, and that is just to perhaps reflect on the advocacy wins on our Commit to Casey campaign. And before I mention these, I'd like to thank each and every person that's been involved in this advocacy. We started off with a commitment to be bipartisan, to actually target all political parties, particularly the two major parties, those in government, those in opposition. That's exactly what we did do, and in the end I think we were taken very seriously about what the things we were asking for, because they are fair and reasonable for our community. We realised that there were so many issues in roads and public transport that we really did need to raise, and so far we have done really well out of that, and I'm about to outline those shortly. But just to say, the people that actually got behind our campaign, the community, have been nothing short of outstanding. Just, we're so grateful to all the people who really supported this campaign, because as councillors and as a council, yes, we can do a lot of advocacy, but without the support of our community saying that's exactly what we need, a lot of that would have been in vain. So if I could just mention a couple of things about our Commit to Casey, which is now one of the most successful local government advocacy campaigns in Victorian history. Both sides of politics have committed to $3.5 billion in investment in Casey, of which $1 billion is earmarked for Commit to Casey rail, road and intersection upgrades. By harnessing the people power of Casey residents and taking steps towards transforming our stakeholder relationships into partnerships, Commit to Casey has made significant progress towards making Casey a more livable city. Councillors and residents should commend themselves on their efforts, but remember there is a long way to go, and we will not stop advocating until we see real change. Irrespective of the outcomes of this weekend's state election, Council looks forward to building on partnerships with our state counterparts to deliver on the commitments made by all sides of politics. Some of the highlights of this successful campaign include a $160 million in the 2018-19 state budget for the upgrade of Pound Road, Greaves Road and O'Shea Road, $95 million in the 2018-19 state budget to complete the duplication of the Narre Warren-Cranbourne Road from Thompson's Road to South Gippsland Highway, hallelujah, and $450 million commitment to extend the rail from Cranbourne to Clyde, which is probably the single biggest ticket in the Cranbourne area. So these are just a few, but there have been so many, and I want to thank my fellow councillors. I would like to congratulate the team who put the Commit to Casey advocacy together and for the commitment that they showed. I mean, they were out on railway stations first thing in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, handing out Commit to Casey postcards. They were meeting communities where they are, and we also had launches and lots and lots of, I guess, community consultation about this advocacy. So to our council officers, to our wonderful directors, our CEO, to Councillor Aziz led the charge certainly in his mayoral term, Councillor Ablett in his, and it's great to wrap this up and perhaps look at what we can do in terms of the federal election coming on. So congratulations to everyone, and out of this our community wins, and that's why we're here. So I'd just like to say thank you, and a really good outcome, and I hope our community feel the same way. I now determine that local law be reapplied, and I look for a mover and a seconder to confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on Thursday the 8th of November 2018. Moved by Councillor Flannery, second by Councillor Cristani. Is there any dissent? There being no dissent, that is carried. Declaration of interest. Does any councillor have a conflict of interest or personal interest that they wish to declare in relation to tonight's meeting? No? Great. Moving on, officers' reports. I'll be calling for councillors who wish to discuss the reports for tonight, and I'll start with item 6.1, which I'd like to withdraw myself, the quarterly community report. Are there any other councillors? Councillor Smith. 6.9. And 6.9 for you. Okay. Any other councillors? No? Not item 6.6, no? Okay. All right, so no more from my fellow councillors, no? That being the case, So I'm looking for a mover and a seconder to adopt the recommendations listed in the officers' reports that have not been withdrawn for discussion, and these are as follows. Item 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, 6.7, 6.8 and 6.6, sorry. 6.6 as well, 6.10, 6.11, 6.12, 6.13, 6.14, 6.15, 6.16 and 6.17. Could I have a mover? Councillor Rosario? Thank you. Second to Councillor Cristani. Is there any dissent? There being no dissent, that is carried. Public question time. Ms Frost, are there any public questions this evening? Thank you, Ms Frost. There being no questions, public questions, we'll move on to officers' reports withdrawn for discussion, and I would like to move the recommendation for item 6.1, so moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Rosario. Thank you. If I could just talk to this briefly, the quarterly report to the community. And I am pleased to present the City of Casey's quarterly community report for July to September 2018, commencing Council's second year of implementing the 2017-2021 Council Plan. Council endorsed a plan for the 2018-2019 year made up of 39 actions, all aimed at making Casey Australia's most livable city. There were a number of exciting highlights during the quarter, including that Council once again hosted a highly successful GovHack event where over 50 participants, volunteers and mentors came together across 3 days and used open government data to create innovative solutions to community challenges. And I do believe we've actually won an award for that. Would that be correct? I saw an email stating that we've won an award, which is, if you have to see this to believe it, it was something absolutely fantastic. And the other point is that the 2018 Community Task Force came together for the final time and provided valuable feedback on what livability meant to them, where they thought council was performing well as identifying areas of opportunity. The new Sydney Parkinson Reserve, Sydney Partager, shouldn't it be? Sydney Parkinson Reserve Tennis Pavilion in Endeavour Hills was open, providing the community with access to new clubhouse with a large social room, male, female and all abilities amenities, an office space and a built-in barbecue. For more details on Council's performance in July to September 2018, the community can download the full report or check out our community dashboard on the City of Casey website. Just before I go on to another matter within this report, councillors, are there any questions or comments? I think the officers would be highly congratulated on absolutely outstanding job, and none more than Andrew Davis. Andrew is the Chief Financial Officer and he will be leaving us at the end of the month, I believe. And Andrew has spent more than 10 years at Casey as a trusted advisor to Council, to the Executive and Audit and Ethics Committee, and someone very respected and admired by us here as councillors. He was closely involved in the management of Stevenson's Road closed landfill litigation, worked through implementation of rate capping, and has for many years been instrumental in Council's corporate planning program. Prior to this, he was 4 years as a senior budget analyst and then General Manager for Finance and Contract Administration at the Department of Justice and Corrections Victoria, with a focus on budgets, including state government budget submissions. Andrew has been at the Department of Defence for 5 years, with budget and reporting roles within the DMO that provides major acquisition and logistic support services to the Defence Organisation. His career in local government started in early 1996 as management accountant at the City of Yarra for 4 years, which followed 2 years as an auditor at Hall Chadwick as AAS 27 came in. I'm not sure what that is, Andrew. I will be asking you afterwards. And then amalgamations took place. Andrew's last day will be 29th of November, and the organisation wishes him well in his future endeavours. And we personally would like to say that we do wish you every success, Andrew, and I think a few of us would like to say a few words. Councillor Cristani.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to thank you very much, Andrew, for your work over this last 10 years, of which 6 I've been working with you. And I just thank you how you've served us all, and you've been so approachable, so pleasant, and just had a high level of acumen and pretty much knew anything we threw at you. So we thank you very much for the work you've done. We'll miss you, but you'll go on to bigger and better things, I'm sure. But thank you so much.
Councillor Rosario, then Councillor Smith, then Councillor Aziz. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also rise to congratulate and thank Andrew for your years of service and for being our rock and our guide as we ask questions, as we work with you to building a very strong budget and the future of this city. It all depended on that, because without money, Madam Mayor, we just don't have what it takes to then fund our infrastructures, to fund our services, and you were always very clever with that, and you know, you're a very intelligent man. And to get along with you on the Library Corporation as well, your work there has been very much appreciated, because that Library Corporation has gone from strength to strength, working together to build that up. So thank you very much from me to you, and wish you all the best in your future endeavours, and to your family as well.
Thank you, Councillor Rosario. Councillor Smith.
Yes, I rise, similar to Councillor Rosario, I'm the current chair of the board of the library, and I think I need to thank you for your contribution to that on and off over the years. I think you've been on the board. From a personal level as a councillor, I've cursed you every budget period, because he's the voice of reason and is always very quick to tell me, no, that's probably not a good idea, we can't do that. But, you know, I slipped some through occasionally, but Andrew was always there with good advice, and not always what I wanted to hear, but it was probably what I needed to hear. So thanks, Andrew, and good luck.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Aziz.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I too rise to congratulate you, Andrew, on what's been an amazing innings at the City of Casey. One of the things that not only struck me but completely blew me away at the budget deliberations every year is that you seem to memorise all 400 pages of the damn document. I would ask you a question about a particular item and Andrew would say, oh yes, that's on page 357, paragraph 3B. And for you to have that capacity and to be across the detail in that manner, but also to guide the City of Casey through what's been the most difficult period. You know, we started on this council with Stevenson's Road and the massive risks, the massive financial risks that presented, and then moved on to the challenge of Bunjil Place and now the challenge of rate capping, and you took us through each and every one of those very, very capably, and you were certainly a solid foundation that I knew that all councillors at every term could come back to and rely upon to provide not just the detail but also insight into the future financially. So congratulations. I will, from a personal and professional level, certainly miss very much working with you, but I'm sure you'll do amazing stuff out there with the remainder of your career. Wishing you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Aziz. Councillor Flannery.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Andrew, look, I've only known you a short time since I've been in council, but on the Audits and Ethics Committee, every time you come to our quarterly meetings, I'm actually blown away by the fact that, you know, you just reel off all those numbers and I have no idea what you're talking about. But, you know, I've started to learn what the Audit and Ethics Committee does, and but you're an integral part of the Audit and Ethics Committee. Every time we go there, you know, everything's about budgets and financial situations, and the way we are with the City of Casey at the moment, as Councillor Aziz says about how much we owe on Bunjil Place and how long it's going to take to pay it off. It's all due to all the work that you've put into Casey Council and with the budgeting and the finances. So from me, I congratulate you. I wish you all the best, and wherever you go, I know that you'll succeed. So thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Councillor Flannery. Mr Davis, just to sum up, well, from a personal point of view initially, and that is to say when I first started council 11 years ago, the budget process was so daunting and I knew I could go to you and you would actually know. I had great confidence in the information that you gave me. As the years progressed, we all tried our little tricks about manoeuvring our little projects here and there, and you'd go away, and you'd go away overnight, you'd come back and you'd say, yep, well, I found out how we can do that, or if we do it this way, we can achieve that. You always found a way forward for us, and you really are a very gifted and talented man, and someone that we really, truly valued working with. So I do personally wish you all the best, and on behalf of my fellow councillors, I agree with Councillor Cristani, you'll be very missed. So go well, and wishing you a wonderful future and all the best to your family. Thank you. So is there any dissent on this matter on the recommendation? There being no dissent, that is carried. Councillors, we're now moving on to item 6.2, and I call on Councillor Smith, Casey Radio Update.
Madam Mayor, I'll be very quick, but I have got one slight addition at the end. So it'll be a point, whatever number point we're up to. There's more than 4 points in here. That's weird. The recommendation in the agenda is different. Ah, there we go, that's right. So it'll be point 6, is that correct? And I'm happy to people to advise me on better wording, but that council seeks one vote between the two councillor delegates as soon as constitutional considerations are able to be enacted, and I'll explain that. And that's it.
That's moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by... Oh, a question, sorry? Of course, Councillor Cristani.
Sorry, Councillor Smith. I'm wondering how we go in conflict when we're deciding on money for this, when we're asking for a council delegate to have a voting right. So I just want to understand the governance issue. It's just something that you've put on this, so.
Can we seek some advice on that?
Because the delegates are appointed by council, therefore there's no conflict.
I think Councillor Cristani is talking about the order in which we're doing it. Would that be correct? Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry. Through you, Madam Mayor, if this is a delegate appointed by council, so there will be no conflict of interest arise because it's a position appointed by council.
That's what I said, but much better put. To Councillor Cristani's information, that's under the previous funding agreement, that's how it was. So since Councillor Rosario and I had a shared vote, we only got one vote between us, and if we were both there, we would jointly decide how we were going to vote.
So it's reinstating what was.
It is. It's reinstating. But the current constitution doesn't allow it. They need to change it again. The board of the radio station have said they're happy to do it. It will take a bit of time to do it. So in the meantime, there will still be 2 councillor delegates. And in terms of the name of the delegates, what number was that one? 7, was it? No?
Oh, no.
Or does it become 7?
It becomes 7.
Yeah. And the delegates, I'm assuming, and I'll need some advice, Councillor Rosario and myself as the delegates. And I was assuming, maybe a big assumption, that Councillor Stapleton would be the alternate, because I think that's how it was.
I would be happy to be an
But
alternate.
I'm open to hear other councillors as to what their desires might be. But that's
Any other nominations? No?
returning it to what it was,
Yep.
2 years ago.
I'd be very happy to be
yeah.
the alternate.
And I'll speak very quickly if I get a seconder.
Okay, seconded by Councillor Cristani. Thank you.
Councillors, the radio station is very close to my heart, and as it is to Councillor Stapleton, being former presenters, and the station is always hassling me to come back, and maybe that'll happen one day, but I'm waiting for that offer from 3RW or Fox or something first, but I don't know whether it's going to happen. There's no doubt that when we quarantined this money a number of years ago, there were very good reasons for it, and I think it was well accepted and well recognised that there was some big issues there, and that council couldn't be seen to be partnering in the current arrangement at the time. But there's no doubt since the election of the new committee, and the president of the radio station, Nia McMartin, is here tonight, and we have to acknowledge that Nia and her new board have really turned around that station. It's gone from an operation that was paying some big money to people to do things to being a completely volunteer organisation, and I think that's been a fantastic turnaround. But also recognising that to go to an all volunteer organisation is just a huge commitment. And I know personally how Nia and her husband Bill put in. I know Bill gets called out at all hours, and I think Stuart's there as well. No doubt Stuart's there, one of their very long-standing techs with the station, get called out at all hours to get the station back on air when something goes wrong. So I personally thank the 3 of them, but they've also got other board members. I think they also realise that running an organisation, they're never going to make every person happy, and they have to deal with all sorts of personalities and people who don't agree. Now you know what it's like to be on council. So there you go. But I congratulate the officers for working with the radio station over the last couple of years to get to this position again. I think it's really important, and it's a good outcome for the community and a good outcome for the station.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Are there any questions or any dissent? That being the case, that is carried. We're now going to move on to item 6.9, Doveton Swimming Pool. Councillor Smith.
Hang on, I've just got to put my goggles on. Hang on.
I've got your
flippers.
floaties.
Get my flippers and my floaties. I'll be moving the recommendation, please, Madam Mayor. It's on page 44.
Moved by Councillor Smith and seconded by Councillor Rosario.
Pulled it out very briefly, simply to say this has been a long time coming. If you look at the date, the motion that was passed back in 2016 by a former councillor and myself had great ambitions, because there's no doubt, as the representative for the Doveton area for a long time, and now Councillor Rosario with us, the pool is a very precious asset to the people of Doveton. It's a precious asset, but they don't always use it, and that's a bit of a problem down there. So the Doveton College is sprung up next door. The Doveton College if you know anything about the way Doveton College operates, it is so community focused. It would be the most community focused school in our city and possibly in the whole southeast. They are really keen to partner with council to reactivate that whole area, including the pool. So we're not trying to get rid of having a pool there, but it might take a different form perhaps. We don't know. But this report just simply says there is a strategy being put together. It will come to us early next year. We believe and hope that it'll have lots of opportunities to revitalise the Doveton pool, and hopefully that whole area will be good for everyone in the community and beyond, but also the Doveton College community, which is a very worthy partner.
Thank you, Councillor Aziz. And Councillor Smith, what I would say is new ways of thinking and doing things, but also after that presentation with Doveton College around their parking strategy, I think that this issue will be, this project will be in safe hands indeed. Are there any questions or any dissent? That being the case, that is carried. We're now going to move on to to petitions. Are there any petitions or joint letters that councillors wish to present? No. Moving on. Notices of motion. We have no notices of motion this council meeting, and we have no reports by council delegates. Where did I miss that? Is there a mover and a seconder to receive and note the record of Assembly of Councillors as listed? Could I have a mover, Councillor Aziz, seconded by Councillor Rosario? Is there any dissent? There being no dissent, that is carried. Now we're moving on to items of urgent business. I have an item of urgent business, but I believe Councillor Aziz would like to declare a conflict of interest. Oh no, we can't. Can't? Good, fantastic. So I'd like to move an item of urgent business, and that is due to timing, because it actually precedes the next council meeting. Thank you very much, Councillor Aziz. If I could provide some more wording. Sorry? Yes, thank you. Do I have any dissent on admitting this as an item of urgent business? That being the case, that is carried. So now we need to move an item of urgent business with the wording as follows. That council agree to note. Council grant. Council grant. Councillor Aziz. Leave of absence. Single meeting. On the 4th of December. 2018. Beautiful. Thank you. So I've moved that. Could I have a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Cristani. Is there any dissent on this item? Oh, yes. That's what I recall. That's why I went down there. We can't because we haven't got a quorum. Okay.
We don't have a quorum. So
We don't have a quorum. I'll give you leave of No, we're actually going to withdraw the item of urgent business, Councillor Aziz, and I'll raise it at the next council meeting. Okay? Fantastic. Are there any other items of urgent business? I was sure that was the case. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any other items of urgent business? No? That being the case, I'm going to thank everyone for the shortest meeting that I've ever chaired, and certainly probably the shortest meeting I've been in a very long time. Thank you to everyone that's attended our council meeting. You're so welcome here, and your presence is appreciated. Thanks to my fellow councillors and our very hard-working council officers. We'll take a 5-minute adjournment where we'll go into closed